Brian Noble, your thoughts after an absolutely drama-filled, thrilling championship encounter here at the Shea, Bradford, just getting home 12 points to 8?
My thoughts are it was just that, a typical derby game, and we've got to be tough to come out the other side of it. And I thought we were. I thought we rectified a few things that we were doing wrong in the first half, played a bit more direct, which you have to do against a good Halifax team. And it was always going to be close. It was fine margins in the end, wasn't it? But I think our defence today was a whole lot better than it's been for a long time.
You mention that defence. You highlight Aribi Doro's try-saving tackle on Charlie Graham to steal the ball one-on-one. If that goes over, Halifax might have maintained that unbeaten start. Does that kind of exemplify what you've just said about that defence?
There were quite a few special efforts in defence, and sometimes they're not all as obvious as probably that one. Halifax can take gratitude, and they have similar events. Every day of the week, Wonga was going to score the try in the first half when he caught it, but I think it was Graham, the boy Graham, stole the ball and made a one-on-one tackle that not many people could do. So that both sides of the fence there, we've got to be pleased with. We conceded a kick try from a ricochet with Jouffre threading the ball, so we can look at that. But I just thought in the main we looked comfortable, but it's never going to be comfortable in the derby. It's the anxiety and the tension that comes with the noise that both fans created can add to that pressure. And we put ourselves under pressure as well, which is the disappointing part of it. The first half, I thought we certainly didn't control the ball well. We didn't get out of our own half well. We got confused as to what we were supposed to be doing. But we rectified that at half time, and it became a good old-fashioned derby, and it's really, really entertaining. Halifax should take credit for the way they performed, but I'm thrilled about how we've come through the right side, and I think rightly so, of a tough game.
Points were clearly at a premium, Brian, for the full 80 minutes. So how pleased are you in a game that had so little try-scoring opportunities? You've seen James Meadows create something out of nothing to go 70 metres, and then early in the second half, ultimately the match winner, Ronan Michaels' assist to Luke Hooley.
Yeah, we've got to be better with the ball. We weren't in the first half, and the fact that they push for each other, he smashes through by the side of the post there. We want our forwards to be like that, because then with the added advantage of people like Skur and Pele and Doro and Michaels, and they can hit the line hard, so defenders have to take account for them. Now if you push on the back of them, I know all of those players can pass as well, so as we get a bit more comfortable with what we're doing with each other, I'm sure that will progress.
Just in terms of Luke Hooley, Brian, I don't think he dropped anything all afternoon at full-back, dealt with those kicks from Woodburn Hall, Jouffre.
Yeah, brilliant catching of the ball, but he'll be the first to tell you that we kicked the ball out on the full twice, so everybody's still got a little bit to work on. I thought all our players effort-wise were magnificent, all the scraps, all the little 50-50s we were in charge of. We cured a couple of things at half-time that we were doing wrong, I thought. But it was always going to be, with Halifax being ahead on the board in the first half and at half-time, it was always going to be a situation where we needed to be a little bit better ourselves. And do you know what? I thought we were.
Obviously, you've mentioned the improvements in that second half. Certainly in that first half, Brian, it did feel at times, like you say, kicking out on the full, coming up with silly errors deep inside your own half. It did feel like you were playing into Halifax's hands a little.
And we gave penalties away, and I don't care who you are in rugby league. The game's too honest. You get found out. The fact that we had to roll our sleeves up and stay in the game after doing all of those things, there was just an easier way of playing. Now, it was not the way we wanted to play in the second half, but it was a means to an end. We had to get to the right parts of the field to cause problems. And in the main, we did that. The players took that on board, but we're a much better side than that offensively. We didn't show it because of us in the first half, and in the second half, because Halifax were in the game, they kept sticking in and defending well.
And then right at the end there, they're keeping the ball alive after Luke Cooley's, I think it was Jordan Lilly who's kicked it out on the full. Yeah. They've got an opportunity, 2 minutes to go, 30 out. Yeah. I think it's young Ben Tibbs who's tried to kick behind Jada Knockingbar, and it's just rolled dead, Brian. What were your emotions like at the end, thinking, oh God, surely we're not going to throw it away?
I don't think those kind of thoughts come into my head. If you do, you do, and then it's another review where you say, well, look what happened here. But Ock worked really well, and the fact that they were resorted to kicking the ball behind us right at the death there, I thought we defended really well. At 20 metres out, and they got 6 tackles on our line, 3 minutes to go. Every day of the week you think, well, you can't hold them out, but we did. And then we managed the clock a whole lot better than we managed it the previous 5 minutes to it. So I'm thrilled for the players. Hey, listen, we beat the number 1 ranked team. They were top of the league ladder, and we came to their ground and did it. So we've got to be delighted about that.
When we spoke previously, Brian, about the defence, you've mentioned it has been soft in parts, and it has needed a bit of focus, a bit of work on. When you analyse the full 80 minutes today to keep Halifax, who've been very, very potent in attack, I know Jack Hansen was missing and it was a changed spine, but ultimately they have been very potent, scoring a lot of points. How pleased are you with that defensive effort to restrict Halifax to just those 8 points?
Well, the players should be pleased because it's something we spoke about at the start of the year, setting standards in defence as well as attack. We've been trying to get a bit of rhythm to our attack, maybe at the cost of our defence. We have to focus on both and stitch them both together because you can't do one without the other. The reason we won today is because of our defence, not because of our offence. The fact that we scored 12 points was because we got some talented players in our team, i.e. the James Meadows try, and then Hula hitting a fly ball off of Ronan Michaels. So we've got a whole lot more in us, I think, and I think it's important that we recognise that. We're still learning and we're still growing, but I'm not taking anything away from the players. I thought they were magnificent today, in one of those anxiety-driven, tense derby games.
Just a little bit on Aribi Doro, you felt the whole, certainly from the Bradford supporters, the whole stadium lift when him and Franklin Pele come on. That, like I say, Brian, that contribution from the interchange from the whole players, Brian, but just crucially giving you that extra energy when you were 8-0 down and you were in, not saying in a hole, but looking a little bit lost.
I thought our bench were great, but that's what they're there to be. If you've got a bench like that, you want them to make an impact, and I think every one of our bench players did do that, and maybe was the difference in the end between Halifax and ourselves. They didn't quite have the wherewithal to go on with the game, whereas we did. But that's why we designed our team that way. It's important that they keep contributing and understand when they come off the bench. I think Jordan Lilly again was on his kick out on the full to increase everybody's heart rate. At the end, I thought again he showed why we're putting him in the places that we're putting him in.
Does it look like everybody's come through unscathed, Brian?
Yeah.
And just on that crowd, I think it was 4,987, 13 short of 5,000. A stadium record, a Halifax record for championship. You had a message on Wednesday for those Bradford fans and non-stop singing. How important was that, Brian? And how good is it for the championship to have, a record crowd here?
Well, this was a brilliant occasion as well. And I think Halifax have been banging the drum about the fixture. It's standalone in my mind. But seeing an end full of red, amber and black was very, very rewarding. And I was pleased we came up with a result for them. I mean, it's not a long journey, but it's still a journey, and they've made the effort and they've made an occasion of. So the both ends were polarised, weren't they? Which was good because there was noise at one point and there was noise at the other point. Thankfully, we played most of the game in the second half at that end.
And going back to when you were previous head coach of Bradford Bulls, your Joe Vaganas, Paul Deakins, Leslie Van der Kolos trying to appease at the end, they'd all go to reward the fans for their travelling numbers. 2,500 Bradford fans here, Brian.
Yeah.
I think it was a good 15 minutes after the game before the players and the fans have gone. Do you feel that connection? Do you feel that connection?
And the players do. They're really grateful that we've got such a great fan base. And I've said right along, from all the 30, 40 years I've been involved with Bradford as a player and everything, if you roll your sleeves up and never dig, this crowd are the best, without a doubt. And I think they're seeing that. We're a bit clunky at the moment, still in some aspects of what we're doing, but they saw the effort areas today, they saw how we defended, and a couple of bits of quality we produced for the tries. So I just think, great reward for them, and the players appreciated. That's why they went there. It wasn't an instruction, it wasn't go to the fans and clap them, it was every one of them went there because they felt the presence when things were getting tough.
Psychologically, what does this win do for the players, the dressing room, the club knowing another tough game next Friday against Oldham?
Not too much, because we need to play a whole lot better against Oldham. I think they're drawn today, so they'll be really, really determined at their own place next Friday night. We need to understand the nature of that challenge. It won't be any more raucous than it was today in relation to atmosphere. So we've had a workout there on the atmosphere side of things. I think our fans will travel again to give a presence. It's important we double our efforts up in that respect. It's because this is a unforgiving competition, the Championship. You can mentally think you're somewhere and somebody's going to get you. We need to improve on this week, definitely.
Just on this win, Brian, obviously it's quite a gritty, determined performance, especially in defence. Do these kind of wins almost please you more than, let's say, battering aside 50-0?
Well, it pleased me because we went back to some of our principles, what we believe in. We front-loaded a lot of our energy. We saw some line speed again from our team, and we saw some. When we stopped dropping the ball and giving penalties away in the first half, we started seeing us restricting territory. And the honest truth of the matter, we gave ourselves too much defence to do in the first half, way too much, which tested us. But we came through that test the other side and continued the test in the second half. So that's the pleasing element of it, that they understand what they need to do and when to do it. I think it's important that we also recognise that we did some things that should have taken the game away from us in the first half. We made some errors. We talked about the kick errors and a little bit of discipline, but will it make a difference? It should. We're getting out the clunkiness, knocking some cobwebs off, but I still think we're searching for that quality performance that we deserve for each other.
So that's 2 wins on the bounce away from home, 3 wins all competitions. Obviously beating Featherstone and Fax, 2 pretty impressive results. Do you feel like you're getting into a bit of a rhythm now?
No, I think if you look at the start of the season, when you asked me that question, I said it'd be around 9 and 10 before. But we're certainly getting into a winning rhythm, which is handy. And we examined all of our principles there, so I think we can get tougher and we can get slicker, if that's the right word. And we need a bit more game savvy, because if you start games like that again, somebody will knock you off.
Just finally, Ronan Michael was pretty exceptional today. Thought he made a lot of good yardage when you're under pressure. Obviously, he played the pass for Hooley in the second half. What were your thoughts on his performance?
Yeah, pretty good, but he wasn't on his own. I thought there were Skurs come back after 7 weeks and showed why he's valuable to us. Mitch Suter came off, didn't go back on because of the way Jordan was going and the fact that you needed to use another middle. So it wasn't as much about Mitch Suter. I think right across the board we've had some great contributors. Franklin, when he came on, made a difference. Michael, and I thought James Donaldson was outstanding on the quiet. With the small things we were doing. Both the back rows again were really good. But as I said, the team was together today, and the team was pretty well connected, certainly defensively. So there's always got a few things to clean up, but I'm thrilled and delighted for them.
Just one final one, Kieran Gill. I noticed he was down on the touchline where you looked to be moving okay. Is he still in contention for Oldham?
Well, we'll see on Monday. We've got a programme to be doing this weekend. I thought Bailey Lou held the floor really, really well, which is what he wanted to do. And I also think that we've got a competition for places within the group now. We've still got players that are not playing who want to play, and that creates its own problems as well. So we've got to try and keep people happy, give people opportunities. We're trying to get a rhythm as well. So all the things that go with a team in this division are taking place. We'll see on Kieran. We'll know more on Monday.